Hey, thanks for tuning into the Land and Home Show. Today we are speaking to a fifth generation farmer on all things farming and what it takes. So stay tuned to hear what Matt Schickel has to share. Hi, I'm Stephen Davy Davis, your land specialist and residential realtor here in Central Kentucky and beyond. I'm joined by Matt Schickel, who is a man of many dimensions, and we will soon get to know him. He's based in Indiana, and we're going to talk about farming and all of the ancillary things in his life that probably make it hard, but also make it rewarding. So, Matt, thank you for joining me this morning for some virtual coffee, and tell everyone who you are.
Absolutely. And appreciate I have phone calls coming in on my phone while we're chatting. So thanks for your patience with me doing that from time to time. But
Sure.
thanks, Stephen, for having me on this morning. Yeah, you say fifth generation farmer, absolutely so, but definitely not full-time farmer, which we'll get into, which I think is neat and a growing trend in these days and times. But yeah, I mean, as you said, in Southern Indiana, live out in Harrison County, which is only about a drive or so to Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, very close, within 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how fast you drive and traffic.
Oh, wow.
I could be in downtown Louisville, and I'm out in the country. And Harrison County is a very diverse county, a lot of agriculture. We are seeing a trend, though, out here where I live, being so close to Louisville. People are trying to get out here because they want a little piece of heaven, at least what I
Hmm.
consider heaven, which is rural America, and be within striking distance of Louisville, Kentucky. So, yeah, I lived out
Hmm.
here my pretty much my whole life. Graduated high school in 2003, which is scary to think about that, but that's been a while.
Yeah, man.
Then
I feel you.
yeah, then college in 2008. I stayed close. I actually bought a house and commuted to U of L, which again is right across the river from where we live here in Indiana, and graduated there with a business degree. Didn't really know for sure what I wanted to do. Of course, I grew up working on the farm, which we'll talk about here in a moment, but never would I have dreamed that a lot of the jobs, if you will, and things that I'm pretty passionate about now would tie back into that. To be honest with you, it was not always fun working on the farm as a young
I'm
a young
sure.
man. There's a lot of hot days, a lot of times when I was working when my friends were out playing sports and doing things that at the time didn't really like, but now it's the work ethic I have in me. I can see that coming out through those experiences when I was younger.
And my
Um,
God, do you have a work ethic? I like at
yeah,
any given day that I call you, so Matt and I, we have started to work together more and more. One of his jobs is that he's a loan officer. And so that's how we met. We met through our professions. And I mean, you can be doing so many things on any given day. It's very impressive
yeah,
that you're able to help my totally unpredictable schedule, let alone so many other agents. But yeah, you have like an insane work ethic. Like literally
yeah,
nothing I've ever seen. It's impressive and honestly like it makes me feel like a I gotta censor myself. It makes me feel very lazy sometimes. The
no,
things that you
couldn't.
accomplish. It's
And
wild,
I
man.
appreciate that. I do, and it definitely comes with the stresses. But I feel like that's just the way I'm wired. And
Yeah.
as we grow older, we learn about ourselves. We learn our strengths, our weaknesses, and things that where we thrive. And I'm just not the type of person where I could sit still. I gotta
Yeah.
be active. I gotta be doing things. But it can cause some stress for sure. But
Sure, farming
but it,
alone can cause stress, and then you start dividing yourself into however many pieces. I can only imagine that multiplies that stress
yeah.
does.
But
So
I will tell
you,
you to that real quick, that this one thing I'll just say though, like, and you'll hear me those to come out a lot, and I believe that, and I think you have the same passion as I do about land and rule and being away. Like there is something therapeutic about getting away from the hustle and bustle, getting away
yeah,
from the technology, and being out in rural America where it's quiet, where you don't hear traffic every second and horns honking, and
Yeah.
there's a piece of that I'm very drawn to.
Yes. I mean, I think that's what a lot of I didn't expect to live my semi-rural life. I'm certainly I think I'm closer to development than I was even when we moved here. But it is nice. I mean, there is something to be said about like not seeing my neighbors. There's something to be said about listening to frogs and all sorts of things at night. I still haven't really gotten my bird identification down and crickets and all that, but it just having your own is cool.
Yep.
But it does come with the stresses, as you said, as I'm getting ready for spring or summer rather. When you talk about your fifth generation farming and not thinking that you'd ever really return, like what was it that made you want to go back? Like you grew up doing this, you clearly you went off to school. One thing that we haven't mentioned is that you were a Marine, which like
Mhm.
that's a whole other thing. So you had lived all of these lives and now you're a father and you have this loan job. Like what made you say, yeah, I want to do all this stuff and I want to go and farm too.
Yeah. Yeah, great question, and a very loaded question, right? With the fact that it's I wouldn't say complicated. There's just a lot of if I had to like simplify it, grew up working on it, with my father and my grandfather, which I was
Hmm.
blessed to get to have that opportunity being with them, right?
Hmm.
And then when I kind of got into that stride with college and starting my career path with that, it's I started getting a little bit further and further away from farming, agriculture, rural
Hmm.
America, if you will. Like you said, I am a Marine. I was in and joined 2003, got out roughly in 2013, 2014. I can't remember my exact end of contract date, but so 10 years in the Marine Corps, got to
Sure.
meet some amazing people. And what was fascinating about it? I love that. That's one thing about me. I got a whole diverse group of friends.
Hmm.
But the ones that I got to bond from every angle and area from the United States, from California out to the guys from New Jersey. Some of these, it was cool to hear that they liked rural America too. Like they had
Yeah.
experiences like I did, grow up on the farm. Not necessarily they all had to be like full-time farmer families they came from, but they appreciated that and had work ethic. So I always found that interesting. And then in my deployment to Afghanistan in 2012, we covered the Helmand province, southern province of Afghanistan, which
Hmm.
is very big, and believe it or not, has a lot of agriculture to it. So
Oh.
our mission was route clearance. So the Taliban, of course, would go out and put in the IEDs or improvised explosive devices
Mm.
to try, to disrupt movement of U.S. personnel, and our job was to go out and find these IEDs and blow them
Wow.
up and create the freedom of movement. Well, either way, driving down a road in Afghanistan at about high speed of rate around 3 to 5 miles an hour, looking for IEDs, you have to stay
Yeah.
and make sure you don't get complacent, but you do pick up, the area that you're operating in, looking at the
Sure.
locals, seeing what they do. And it was just cool seeing these farmers go out here and cut down straw, with an actual like knife out there,
Right, like
tilling up the ground with the
whacking.
yeah, with a donkey, and tilling up the ground, and just seeing this. And it was like, it's pretty cool. Like agriculture and farming and all that. It's not just here, it's everywhere, and it's huge. And
Hmm.
you go way back in time, we've always had that as a part of our lives. So I found that interesting. I was like, that's just really cool. I know it sounds corny, but that was
No,
kind of,
not at
I guess,
all.
what maybe sparked some of that interest. So then when I came back from the deployment, my wife and I, we'd been married for several years, no kids at the moment, knew we wanted to start a family, uh, and made a decision to get out. And we did get right on that. We had three girls, pretty close now. Today, their ages are 10, 8, and 7. So they were all
Okay.
pretty close in age. Uh, I made the decision to get out, but went to work for a uniform facility company. And I really was drawn to that, Stephen, because it was management leadership. Because I did a lot of that, of course, in the Marine Corps. I had my
Hmm.
own platoon, and it, um, it just didn't fill those buckets. And I'm like, gosh, I'm getting paid well. I'm in a management position, everything I wanted, but the industry was not what I was passionate about. So
Uh,
I started researching on my own, just looking out, companies, and I stumbled across FarmCredit Mid America. Uh, did some research on who they were as a company. It was in marketing of all areas, which I have a business degree, so wasn't like a shoe-in fit, but I knew I had the background and the passion
sure.
about agriculture. So anyway, uh, interviewed with them, started out in marketing in 2014, and have been with the company ever since. Then I came over as a loan officer in probably 2016, I think. So I've
Okay.
been I've been a loan officer for a minute now with them, and now I'm with a company that represents farming and agriculture.
Yeah, and they do a really, really great job at it. There's two things. One is I work with Rural First a lot, and sometimes I get to work with Matt, sometimes I don't. People call me from all over the country, sometimes thinking that I can help them in Nebraska or help them wherever. So Rural First and Farm Credit in America are always my first call when people have loan needs. I mean, and this is my show. They're not sponsoring me to use my own stuff to hype them up. I mean, I've just been working with them for a really long time. They treat their people well. So for whatever that's worth, if you're watching, if you have specific agriculture needs, Farm Credit Mid America is great. If you're looking more at the recreational side, or you're trying to build a house in rural America, Rural First is the counterpart to that. And so anything that you'd really need, they can help you out. And then the second thing, you talked about going back in time. A while ago, probably 2 years ago now, I interviewed a farmer up in um, Fleming County, close to the Ohio River, and he is probably one of the few draft farmers in Kentucky. He farms with two mules and all of these implements that are essentially powered by those mules, like dragging them or doing some sort of like movement in order to get the implement to work. It's really, really interesting. He's so well versed historically in it that he restores a lot of these implements, and he's not Amish, but he even teaches the Amish, or has at times, how to um, utilize these tools and how to take these agricultural practices, because a lot of that history has just been lost because we have tractors. I mean, and there's no right or
Yeah,
wrong way, but there's not an easy way to learn about it all. I'll share his information with you just so you can see how he operates. It is so cool
yeah,
to see how his farm works. But in any case, you that's a lot. That's a lot that you do. I sometimes it distracts me just thinking about all of the different ways in which you're a person. Um, and I cannot get off on a tangent. So I'm pulling my questions back up because there's so many other questions I want to ask you. You just dropped a few things I didn't know about you, but that's
yeah,
not what today is about.
yeah.
So I guess I want to ask you, as farming wise, so you went back and Afghanistan kind of started to stir some things for you. And what is it that you are farming is part A, and part B, knowing that you're fifth generation, presumably the youngest part of your family's farming operation, where is it that you see your industry going? Or, man, I guess I'm asking three questions. Okay, what do you farm? And how are you bringing your youth, I guess, to
Hmm.
the model of your farm? Like, is it agritourism? Is it regenerative stuff? Is it a use of technology that maybe your dad and your grandfather never thought would happen? Like, how are you bringing your own twist, and what are you actually farming on your family farm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the last question and work my way back. I do want to finish your first one because I think it's very important about like how I even got back where I was at. Was involved with the farm, primarily hay and straw with my grandfather. I remember as a
Okay.
kid, and I'm not kidding, when I was probably 6 years old. I'm out there driving a tractor, an Alice
Yeah.
Chalmers tractor, while they're throwing hay bales on the back. I couldn't even get the clutch down. They would have to jump up. I could drive it and keep it in
Yeah.
line, but like
Right.
they kept me going. So I had that throughout a lot of my life, but left, went away, had these experiences, came back, and then working for this company and being and serving and working with those customers that are like minded like me and have this love for rural America has just ignited that. And to
Mhm.
be truth be told, there was times I almost didn't. I always still worked on the farm, and I was coming in, but it wasn't like a passion. I was like, gosh, it was more of a chore. And there's times it's
Sure.
still there's long days
Oh
and
yeah.
things. It's not perfect, but now I'm truly passionate about it. Working with my father and ramping up our hay production, which is one of your questions on what we do, and it's primarily hay, and we do a little bit of straw, but primarily hay, and sell those to our customers. And it's been a great thing. But going with your last questions, like future plans, what does Matt bring to the table, the fifth generation,
Mhm.
guy with our generation is way different when you look back to the people in the 1800s, right? I
Oh
mean, it
yeah.
is.
It's
So,
another planet.
uh, exactly, right. But I really love the agritourism educational piece, like getting to I have friends from all over, luckily, through my time in the military, all walks of life. And some of them come in to stay at we have some rental properties. We have an Airbnb. In fact, I'm sitting in one of them right now as we're filming this, and getting them to come to rural America,
Yeah.
southern Harrison County, to experience what it's about. And it's really cool. They're like, this is just amazing. Like, you don't hear traffic. That the scenery is awesome. You hear the crickets and the frogs at night and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
just seeing them experience that is amazing. So my goal, if you will, would be to continue doing what we're doing now with hay and straw, primarily hay, but also add that agritourism piece. I mean, there's some cool heritage on our farm. I actually sent a photo to you. I don't know if you saw it, Stephen, of a house. It looks so random, but there's this house in the background on
Okay.
a trailer that's being moved, and that is the old house that my grandparents lived in. And when my
Wow.
dad, he just built a house on the family farm, he had the old farmhouse physically moved, picked up, and driven them about a quarter mile down the road to our other farm, and put down there that I have plans with one day is having that as an Airbnb to have
Yeah.
people come out and learn, like, what is it? What, because there's so many misconceptions on what a farm is. A lot of people think, oh, it's just corn and soybeans, or oh, it's just cattle. No, there's pumpkin farmers, there's people who grow flowers, there's people that do hay like I
Christmas
do. I mean,
trees. Yeah.
there is, right? So
Yeah.
that would be something agritourism to get people to come out to see. I mean, we've talked about even a wedding venue of some sort, maybe one
Mhm.
day that we could have out there. Just something again to get people to come out and see what rural America is all about.
Sorry, I keep
It's
looking out the window. I don't know if there's a bike race. I live on a country road, and I just keep seeing like
by
bikers. Yeah. It's not something that I'm used to. I think there have been like 14 or 15 that have passed by now. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, you
Um,
you'd say that, and I have carpenter bees over here, like just like literally kamikaze coming in at the window at me, and they're hitting the window as we're talking. So they're really bad this year. So I
they
have that on
are.
distraction going on as well.
When you talk about hay, I actually had some other Indiana farmers who were past clients of mine. I recorded something with them yesterday, and I mean, they're young. As you're probably well aware, most farmers in our country are well over the age of 50, and I think the average age is like 66 or something. So, I mean, you represent a minority of farmers in that you're young. What about hay? Another two-parter. So first is take us through, I guess, a cycle of like in a year, what does it take from we have nothing to produce that is ready to be harvested to we have a harvest and like where does it go? And then what is it that has changed? Like you talked about agritourism and kind of where you see your own personal trajectory going, but like how do you use technology in all of that? Because it's not the same as the 1800s. So,
Yeah,
like, what is the
absolutely.
difference today versus maybe even when you were six driving a tractor?
Yeah, yeah. No, great question. You have to build a team. And when
Mm,
I say a team, I mean like I know enough on mechanics to get something done. I'm not a full blown mechanic. We have, I call it or we have some farm hands that help us out as well, but we have mechanics on standby. When equipment goes down, we can call on them, right? We have an agronomist that we work to who comes out and tests the soil. Who tells
mm,
us, we're lacking on this type of, whatever it is, potash. We need more potash. We need more of this, or we need to spray for this, or like our alfalfa might have some type of weed in it that we need to start working on now to mitigate that, because that could really hinder our production on our
mm,
alfalfa, right? So having that team, if you will, and then we do, with the amount of hay that we're producing, we have some farm hands that come in seasonally to help us out,
hmm.
because there's no way that you could do it all. So if I had to tell you the difference between now here and what I would think back a long time ago, you had to do it all. Like, back in
Mm,
you had to literally you were the mechanic. You didn't. I don't really think they were doing a lot of soil sampling. Way back in the day, it just wasn't a technology. With when you're spreading fertilizer, anything, we have GPS systems, everything to be more precise, more accurate. So if I had to summarize
yeah,
that up, you are just getting hyper focused on how can we be as productive and efficient as we can with the land that we have, and of course not destroy the land, right? To be,
right.
as minimal times driving over that field as possible, to make it just a better product. So having that team is extremely important. The yearly cycle, I mean, we have roughly 23 acres that we do of alfalfa orchard
Hmm.
grass that primarily goes to all of our horse farms locally. We're blessed to live, like I said, just outside of Louisville, Kentucky. So we
Yeah.
supply to Churchill Downs. We
Okay.
supply over to Prospect, Kentucky, where they have a lot of horse training facilities. Those are like the alfalfa clients. They really want that good
Oh,
alfalfa product. In
yes.
addition, we probably have about 100 to 125 acres, that we do just, I would say, grass hay. Everything from, like, we have about 20 acres we just planted into rye orchard and fescue, which is going to be a little
Mm.
bit different of a hay product, but those are going to be geared towards not your race horses, but just folks that have, their horses that they like to go horseback riding on the weekends for,
So
right?
Tennessee Walkers, quarter horses, stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yep.
Gotcha. And those are all, for anyone who doesn't know, can you, I'm totally pulling little pieces from what you're saying, but those types of grasses are warm season grasses, yes?
Yeah. Yes. And
So,
and yes, correct. So we will start cutting, hopefully weather dependent. We will start cutting here in about 3 weeks. So towards the end of May, 1st of June.
gotcha. And then what happens after that? So, you let the grass grow because, of course, you're not
Mm-hmm.
generally replanting grass the way that you might replant corn or something. So you're
Yep.
letting it grow, you're having a cut. What happens after that?
Yeah, great question. So we cut it, right, and again, it depends on what we're doing. And I think one of your questions was at one point, like, what have you learned along the way and things like that. At times we have experimented with different types of hay, meaning
Hmm.
there's a baleage hay that we've done before where you purposely cut it and then you bale it at a higher moisture content. I mean, I'm talking like 30
Mm.
to 40%, and then you wrap it, which
Oh, sure.
starves it of oxygen. Okay. And it goes through like a fermentation process. I mean, it smells amazing. It's very sweet when you get up next to it.
Mm.
And not to go into all the details, but we got out of that market. It was good and bad. And I won't go into all the details of it, but either way, in that process is different from what I'm getting ready to tell you. But we
Okay.
cut the hay. We pay a lot of attention to the moisture content of that hay, because you want to have that right. You don't want to have any, zero moisture, but you definitely don't want too much, because then you can have molding and stuff like that in your hay.
Sure.
So cut it. Then we ted it, which, if you ever see anybody tedding hay, it's literally just spreading it out everywhere to get spread out evenly as much as you can, to where you just let, Mother Nature do her thing, and let the sun just dry it in the wind, dry that hay to where
Hmm.
you need it to be. Once it's dried and ready to go and it's spread all out, on your field, then we would go in and rake it into something called a windrow. And depending on if we're doing round bales, which I'm sure you've seen tons of before, or
Sure.
squares, which we do a lot of, we will break it into a certain size of a windrow and then we bale it. And when we bale it, we put like a salt based product on it that helps keep it preserved even more. And I firmly believe in that. In the
Mm,
fact that we get so many of our clients that come back and just love our hay, and we
yeah.
have a really good hay product. So that's the quick and dirty version. You
No, that's what I
cut it,
want.
rake it, and bale it. Right. So that's
Yeah.
it. And then from there, the list goes on. We do quite so many squares. We have a system that we bundle it into a bundle of 14. I shared some of those with you in a photo to where
Okay, great.
we can handle some of these, Stephen, just my dad, myself, and a few others with equipment. I mean, this is a lot different from when I was young and you were going out and baling it and throwing it on the wagon and bouncing around in the
Right.
field and then taking the wagon to the barn and throwing it up in the barn and stacking it. I mean, we're trying to be as efficient as possible with the little amount of labor we can put into it.
That's really cool. I don't know a whole bunch about any kind of farming. I feel like I know a little bit about a lot.
Yep.
And so I've never especially heard about the salt aspect. I mean, I know that if you're going deer hunting, people like to put out mineral licks and
Sure.
every mammal needs salt because of
Yep.
electrolytes and whatever. So I never thought about preserving the hay with a salt like thing. That's a cool angle. When you hold on, I gotta get back to my questions here. Um, when you think about all of the things that you do in a day or a week, what particular lessons come to mind for you around um, successfully maintaining this lifestyle? I mean, balance seems like a very key thing in your life, and I imagine that everything is not balanced all the time, but like how do you find or how are you always pursuing balance in your life? Because I imagine if things are out of balance for too long, chaos ensues.
You're 100% right. Yes. I mean, and we, of course, cover just the top of everything that I got going on top of nonprofit boards and all that good
Oh
stuff. So
yeah.
it can get chaotic for sure. I have found just stepping away to putting time on the calendar to say, we're just going to go and go on a vacation for 2 or 3 days, even if it's that. I'm big on doing that with my wife. We again, like I said, had three daughters.
Hmm.
Love our family. We try to do a lot of stuff together as a family, but we make sure to deliberately get away, just her and I, at times. Personally, I found that just being in the wilderness, you mentioned deer and their love for salt. I love to hunt deer, love it. And it's
Yeah.
not so much about going out and killing the animal. Of course, that's the process of it. But getting out, it's pitch dark, walking in the woods, getting in your climber, getting up in the tree and just sitting still. And
Yeah.
there's something just awesome about that and just taking it all in, right? Nature. That helps me a lot because if I just continue with the grind and I'm inside all the time and in front of my computer and all that, it literally will drain me. But then when I get out to the farm or go out to go hunting or something where I'm just getting away from all of the stuff I don't really feel like we're designed to do a lot, which is the technology and sitting and being inside, I feel better. I get
Yeah.
re-energized and I'm ready to go back out. So that's really been a big thing for me to just set aside time, get outside, get away from technology for a little bit.
I dig that. I think that we could all do that in our life for sure. The do not disturb feature is my favorite feature on my phone.
Yeah.
I love that feature. Do you have, I mean, this can go a lot of directions, but what kind of advice would you have for someone who, I mean, they might not be, they could be a beginning farmer in your mind, they could be someone coming back to the farm that their family owned, they could be someone wanting to capitalize on their land and have someone else farm it. They want to lease it out, like however you want to take the question. But what advice would you have for someone that is not in the farming world, but thinking about engaging the
Yeah.
farming
No.
world?
I said earlier about building that team, right? I think
Hmm.
that would be the same thing, Stephen, is that like building a team where if you're really serious about it, find almost a mentor, someone that's in doing it right now. The thing about farming, it is so diverse, so many different directions you can go, and then there's a
Hmm.
million resources out there. I mean, so many. Like you have, for example, I was asked recently to I had to turn it down, unfortunately. This has probably been the past year, but sit on something called the Farmers Veterans Coalition
Oh,
board, a
wow.
local chapter. And my point on that is there is a group out there. If you're a veteran and you're getting out of the service and you are interested in farming, you can join this organization. Not only can you join this
Mm.
organization, you can utilize a label called the Homegrown by Heroes label to slap on your product. For example, you're selling beef, freezer beef. You can put this
Whoa.
product on your product, or I'm sorry, label on your product, and that way, if somebody's going down the store and they see that there's beef here and there's also beef being sold here, but it's being produced by a local veteran farmer, uh, people are interested in that, right? So that's a
Yeah.
resource. My point, what I'm getting at, that's a resource out there, and we have so much to our fingertips anymore on information. It can be overwhelming, but I would recommend just building that team, finding a mentor, doing your research, see what's available. I mean, every county has their own resources that you can utilize, and don't be afraid to just sound dumb. I mean, there's I think a lot of people that they can get around these large 1,000 acre farmers and like, hey, I'm interested in doing this, and they're worried that they might be looked down upon because they're not doing row crop farming for 1,000 acres. And yes, there's some, just like any industry, there's some that are going to be like, oh, you're just whatever, you're not a real farmer, and that's fine.
Sure.
But I
Right. Let them think
firmly
what they want to
believe
think.
but I firmly believe most out there think it's awesome because they
Yeah.
see folks that are trying to getting into agriculture as an advocate to the industry, because we need
Hmm.
that big time.
Yes.
Because if we don't, before you know it, we're going to keep on pushing this off and off, as far as importance, and we will be in a real problem. Agriculture is huge. Not only is it
Yeah.
big for just feeding people, but even the therapeutic and just getting out all this stuff we just got them talking about with I would relate to mental health, getting out and experiencing just nature and all the stuff that God's country, if you will, is great.
Yeah.
So long response to your question, but building a team, getting that mentorship, finding out what's relatable, and just jump in, just do it, and
Yeah.
saving your money because it's expensive. I mean, we didn't talk about that's I'm a personal financial coach. I do that on the side. Just love finances and coaching people on their finances. And if you do it right and stay out of debt as much as you can, understanding that you probably will have to go into some, especially if you get into farming, but being very wise with your spending and wise with your money, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. You're just going to have to be pretty conservative on your finances starting out.
Yeah. Um, that's really helpful. And I appreciate the piece about the veteran thing. We're going to have to talk offline because I'm working on a project with Kentucky State University, actually, that I think there's some amount of connection that you and I need to have in order to, uh, anyway, I think that is, I mean, I could talk to you for hours and you don't have hours. There's so many more things I want to ask. But I think that it's a great start and it's a great peek into your world. This is my goal with this particular format this year is just to show people lots of different perspectives. So I mean, you're my third young farmer in the meetings that I've had. One was a commercial flower farmer. She's just starting. The couple from yesterday, fourth generation. The wife is new, but the husband is a fourth generation farmer, and they're beans and and corn, and you're fifth generation doing, of course I'm getting phone calls, and you're doing hay, and like you said, there's
Yep.
so many directions. And so I think I could do 1,000 of these, and no one's story is going to be the same. And I think that's what's so excited, and also further demonstrates your point about that diversity within agriculture. So thank you for being here. Thank you for helping make the world go round. Thank you for putting your life out there to help keep us safe. Like you're a superhero, man, and I
I don't know
really
about that, but
appreciate
thank you.
you lending your time and your energy and your life force to to give back to the world, and certainly give back to us here in the United States. So I
Well, I
appreciate your
appreciate
time.
it, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then too, just like I know you're doing, use everybody as a resource. Myself, you just that's what it's all about. Just reaching out, having those phone calls, getting that connection made, and then it's crazy what
totally.
will take off. There to me, relationships are so important in life and
Yeah,
can really help you out personally. So
for
absolutely.
sure. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. But this is Matt Schickel and Stephen JB Davis signing off. See you next time.